is advised. Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, a savage attack.
She was beaten by her ex-boyfriend with a meat mallet.
I remember being on all fours.
Pounded in the head with a hammer.
He broke her neck.
You remember him throwing you over his shoulder.
That was the worst part.
And texted her daughter.
You walked in and saw your mother's blood-splattered walls, ceilings, floors.
I called him Dad. He was gonna adopt me. He just tried to take my mom away.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Well, Tammy says when she met her former fiance, Chris, on an online dating site, she thought he was handsome and liked that he pursued her. They dated for 7 years, blended their families, and he even offered to adopt her teenage daughter. Now, their relationship even endured 2 breakups and makeups because Tammy says she still loved him. Even after they ended things the final time, Tammy says she continued a friends with benefits relationship because she liked spending time with Chris. Tragically, that was a decision that would prove to be nearly fatal for Tammy. During a jealous rage, Chris brutally attacked her with a meat tenderizing hammer, broke her vertebrae, and choked her near to death. The story made headlines in New York. Take a look.
Tammy Chalmers just wants to move on with her life. She was beaten savagely last October by her ex-boyfriend, Christopher Redenti, who repeatedly ripped into her scalp with a meat mallet, broke her bones, and kidnapped her. Redenti placed her immobile body on his bed and began plotting what he would say to Chalmers' daughter.
I just lay there and couldn't move.
Now Chalmers credits her teenage daughter with saving her life. Taylor got home early that morning, noticed the blood splattered throughout the home, and called 911. Officers showed up at Redenti's Highland home and took him into custody. Chalmers suffered a broken vertebrae and required 30 staples in her head and multiple stitches to mend her finger. Even more, the emotional pain continues to haunt both mother and daughter.
Well, Chris pleaded guilty to first-degree assault and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Now, it's been 2 years since Tammy was viciously attacked, and she says she no longer leaves her home unless she's going to work. She stopped going grocery shopping and is afraid to sleep in her own bed.
The day Chris attacked me, he had offered to help me unpack and bring over a pizza and just be friends. After we finished, I had thanked him for everything he helped me do. That's the last memory I have of that evening. The next thing I remember is being on all fours, being pounded in the head. Chris was hitting me with a meat tenderizer. I just kept saying, please stop hitting me, can't we just talk? As he was hitting me, he was reading my online dating profile messages. He was saying that I shouldn't need to date anyone else because he had been treating me perfectly. After he assaulted me, he texted Taylor trying to find out if she was going to be coming home that night. Once he wasn't able to determine whether or not she was coming home that night, he said, we have to get out of here because Taylor can't see you like this. He put me in the landing of my front door. I couldn't move. I just laid there looking out the front door. He tossed me over his shoulder, then he put me in his car. I was begging him the whole time not to kill me. He never gave me one word of reassurance. We arrived at his house, and he then threw me on his bed. He put a bunch of towels under my head so that I wouldn't bleed onto his pillow. I'm sure that he was waiting for me to die so that he could get rid of me. When Taylor got back at about 5:30 in the morning and saw blood all over the house, she called 911.
Is the blood on the inside or outside of the house?
The front door is on the outside.
It sent an alert to my phone. I think Chris knew that it was over. There was no getting out of it. When the police arrived, he was instructed to go out with his hands up, and he did so peacefully. When I got to the hospital, I had lost a lot of blood, but I did not need a transfusion. I was only in the hospital for 2 days. Chris took a plea deal, so there was only a sentencing hearing. The few times I looked at Chris, he wouldn't look at me. Before my attack, I felt very smart and confident. I used to love my life, but ever since the attack, I don't have any trust in myself.
Well, Tammy, I am so glad you're here.
Me too. Thank you so much.
I intend for this to be a changing day in your life because you're not really living, are you?
No. No, I'm not.
Before this happened, you were a very different person.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now let's go back through this quickly. You met him on a dating site in 2008.
Yep.
And you dated for 7 years, off and on. You broke up a few times, got back together. How did he handle that?
Well, he was stalking me. I heard only after this all happened that I think my daughter saw him behind the bushes when I was sitting outside talking to someone who wasn't even a boyfriend or a date or anyone, just a friend.
It was a male.
Yeah.
But you get back together after 2 months. Now you break up the second time. How does he handle that?
I mean, we always talked. We always remained friends, so we always talked about the kids and everything. And then we got together on New Year's Eve.
And how long were you broken up?
It was 11 months.
Okay. So you only broke up 2 times?
Yeah, other than little ones before we lived together.
Okay. 2 major breakups?
Yeah.
Okay. And this happened at the end of the second breakup? Okay.
A year later, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you stayed broken up a long time this time, but you kept in contact. And during that time, he did show you behavior that bothered you, because he was saying, I'm never going to stop loving you. And you're saying, you're making me uncomfortable here.
All over the place.
Was that a red flag to you?
Oh yeah, I was seeing
Not that you would
red
predict,
flags then, yes.
Not that you would predict what happened.
No.
Who would? Nobody
Right,
would
no,
predict that.
No, I thought he would meet someone because we were both dating online. I thought he would meet someone and then his interest would move to the next person. And
we hear on the tape that he's been over helping you and all that, and you say thank you.
my last memory was sitting on the couch after we had, hung up pictures and decorated and put stuff away. And I remember sitting there saying, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I love it. It looks so great. And then I remember being on all fours, on being smacked in the head.
What set him off the day of the attack, we now know, was the phone.
Well, I believe we were having a conversation, and I went to show him my friend who had cancer, and I was showing him how great she looked with really short hair. And I found that screenshot, and then I thought, I don't remember talking about her. I have a feeling that he grabbed my phone when I brought it to him unlocked to show him that picture, but I don't know how he got to the back of my head.
Okay.
And
so you're sitting on the couch just having a normal conversation. Next thing you know, you're on all fours and you're getting pounded in the head with a meat tenderizer hammer. And how many times do you think he hit you?
he had to have hit me at least 10 times. He switched sides. He was, but it was him reading messages out loud, telling me, why would you need to ever see this person? And, why would you ever need to date anyone but me? I've been perfect to you. I remember putting my hands behind my head, trying to save my head, and my head was getting moved, you know? It wasn't like it was staying still. It was like...
Was this a homicidal rage by him at this time?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how was your neck broken?
I don't know. It could have been when I was on all fours and the impact of, or it could have been him throwing me over his shoulder.
But you remember that, and then you remember...
I don't remember my neck breaking.
But you remember him throwing you over your shoulder?
Oh, yes, that was the absolute worst part.
And then you remember him moving you to his house and lying there on your back. And did he speak to you then?
Only to ask me about things he found in my phone. I can't think of it.
At what point, if any, did you think this was the day you were going to die?
When I was laying on his bed and I knew I was just bleeding to death, then I thought I was going to die. But those memories are so, I was so in and out of consciousness that what I remember is fighting for my life and thinking about Taylor and just knowing I had to live. She didn't have any other parents.
And as we sit here today, that night's not over for you.
No.
That night's been 2 years long.
Yes.
Tammy's 19-year-old daughter, Taylor, we're going to find out how she saved her mother's life and why today she finds it hard to talk about the night of that attack. We'll be right back. Tammy says her 19-year-old daughter, Taylor, would get mad and stomp out of the room when she talked about the day her former fiance brutally attacked her with a meat tenderizer. Now, Taylor admits she was in denial and wanted to pretend it just didn't happen, even though she was the one who saved her mother's life by calling 911 after she returned home to find her mother missing and blood all over the living room.
My mom is a completely different person since her attack. She tells me that she's afraid and she can't handle too much out in the world anymore. I've tried to give my mom tough love, hoping that it would motivate her. I've yelled and screamed and tried to give her the cold shoulder, but nothing works. I know she doesn't want to be like this. None of this is her fault. I blame Chris. He tried to take my mother away from me. On the night of the attack, Chris texted me. He suggested I don't come home. I had a really bad feeling that something was wrong. I tried to dismiss it, but by 5 a.m. I just had to go. As soon as I got to the front door, there was a bloody handprint smeared on the door. I walked in and blood was all over the walls, floor, stairs, and ceiling. I started to panic. I decided to call 911.
We got officers responding, okay? I'm going to keep you on the phone till I get there. Yeah.
As I was on the phone with 911, Chris texted me. He said he wanted me to know that she was fine, but she just didn't feel well. I told the 911 operator that everything was okay. The operator suggested that I call my mother and check for myself.
Can you get off the phone with me and call her? Yeah. Okay, then call us right back to 911 to let us know what's going on, okay?
My mother said that she was at Chris's house and they'd gotten into a fight. That's when I called 911 back and told them what she had said. I stayed on the phone with her the entire time and she was in and out of consciousness. Chris got on the phone with me and told me that he was sorry, that he loved me and my mother and that he never meant to hurt us. That was the last time I ever talked with him. I went to the hospital and I couldn't believe what he had done to my mother. It was the scariest thing that I ever saw in my life. No one should ever have to see their mom like that. I tried to pretend that it didn't happen. To this day, I still have not sat down and spoke to somebody about it. I don't want to accept that it's real, and it was. I can tell the story, but it doesn't feel like my own story.
Well, Taylor, thanks for being here. We now know, had you not intervened, she very likely would have died in that bed that night, because he certainly wasn't going to get her help.
No, he was not.
Yeah. What's been the hardest thing about this for you since that night over the last 2 years?
That it's not ending. It's not over. I just want my mom back.
What do you miss most about your mother?
She was so fun. I mean, we always had a good time. We could go out. We would go out. We would go shopping and on vacation and we always had a good time.
How do you feel about that as you look at those pictures?
I miss it so much. I am so glad we had so long, you know. I'm so glad that she got to be at least as old as she was, and that this happened at least as late in her life that we had this childhood. I was a single mother with her, and she was my life.
The day of the attack, you say Chris texted between 1 and 3 a.m. to ask if you were coming home?
Yes.
And suggested you stay.
Suggested I stay where I was, because it's not safe driving that late at night. Hey, punk.
His first words to her were, "Hey, yo, punk, what are you up to, night owl?"
Yeah.
While I'm laying on the floor, beaten and strangled.
It doesn't make any sense.
He was obviously trying to make her think that everything was fine, but
What
that's
did you
sick.
think?
I thought I was with his oldest, or not his oldest son, but his son that's older than me. So when he texted me, we're all laughing like, oh my God, here we go, this guy, you know? Because it was his dad, it was my dad, I felt like, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought he was like, what are you doing, punk?
Mm-hmm. He had offered to adopt you, right?
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm. But you said you had a really bad gut feeling at some point. When did that trigger in you?
I think that triggered in me, I want to say that when he texted me, but I just couldn't place it. I didn't know if I felt sick or I just knew something was wrong. I tell my mom that she needs to talk to somebody about her attack. My mother will say yes just to shut me up, and then she'll flake.
I have a lot of fear of leaving the house. It could be as simple as going to the grocery store because I'm afraid I might run into somebody that I know that I have to have a conversation with.
I work at a restaurant, and I always invite her to come and have dinner. I've saved a table for her countless times, and she never shows.
What do you think's keeping her on that couch?
I don't know. That's what I want to find out. And I don't know what you're afraid of because he is in jail. But
there are some things you're just not supposed to see. And your mother's blood-splattered wall, ceiling, floors is one of those things, right? You're not supposed to see that.
I saw the blood, and so I immediately went upstairs to find my mom, and the door was locked. I cannot be the one to find my mom in this house. So I called 911, and I tried to get out of I left the house, but I couldn't. I didn't want to get behind that door. I didn't want to know if she was behind it.
Your life changed in that moment.
I still can't grasp the fact that he did this. I've known him since I was like 8 years old. I mean, he took care of me. He was there when my first boyfriend broke up with me, and I was a mess. And, you know, we took pictures before my 8th grade formal, and he was my dad. And then he just tried to take my mom away. I don't know how to move past that.
What's keeping you on that couch?
I just feel like it's selfish for me to talk about something that happened 2 years ago. I just feel like you're alive, get over it. Like time heals. How much time?
I said today was going to be a changing day in your life. Let me tell you two things that are going to start that change. You think you should just be able to, just through willpower, you should be strong enough to just grit your teeth and get through this, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's a news flash. Willpower is a myth. Willpower is a myth. It is fickle. Willpower is a myth. It is emotionally driven. And what do emotions do? They go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. You can't do this by willpower. Bet you never thought you were going to laugh today.
No, I knew I was going to laugh.
Okay,
I watch
good.
you all the time.
All right, good. So one, willpower is a myth. You're not going to do this by willpower. That's not going to happen.
I'm realizing that.
The second myth is time heals all wounds. Time heals nothing.
I agree.
Time heals nothing.
It's gotten worse.
Because I'm telling you, a day of doing the right thing is more powerful than a year of doing the wrong thing. It's not just a passage of time, it's what you do with that time. Reinforcements have arrived, okay? All right, coming up, Taylor says she has taken on the mother role. Find out why when we come back. Now, her daughter Taylor says she has become the primary caregiver and is so frustrated that sometimes she just wants to grab her by the shoulders and tell her to snap out of it, like she's been telling herself. Well, I want to introduce my audience to someone today. It's a transformational coach by the name of Lisa Nichols. Now, she first became well known to the world as one of the speakers in the popular self-help documentary, The Secret. Lisa has been asked to do her motivational work across the country with hundreds of thousands of followers, known as her tribe on social media. She has changed millions of people's lives by helping them have the breakthrough that she says she was blessed with. Take a look.
Don't stand in your story, stand on your story. Don't you dare let it stand between you and your dream. It's not gonna be our fortress, it's gonna be our fuel.
Number one, I'm a transformational coach. I teach people how to get over a difficult moment, how to develop skill sets so that they can live the life they say they want to live versus looking at it. I work to teach my students that you are enough. You have to like you first. It took so long for me to just arrive at the I am enough. I wanted to transform my life. I had to give the woman in my head every chance. I've had some very dark days on this journey. Right after I had my son Jelani, I felt like I hit rock bottom. I went to the ATM to get $20 out to buy more Pampers, and it said insufficient funds, $11.42. I had to wrap my son in a series of towels for 2 days, and I was ashamed. And I said, don't worry, Jelani. Mommy will never be this broke or broken again. All I want to do is transform lives and help people to have the breakthrough that I was blessed with. When I was on Oprah, it was the catalyst to allow myself to be seen, to be heard.
What was your turning point?
I got on my knees and I said, God, if you bring me through this, I promise I will spend every moment, every breath supporting, encouraging others to do the same.
Fast forward to the Today Show. I was comfortable in my learning and my lessons.
We're talking about the word abundance today.
This is a 360 experience. It's the quality of your relationships. It's the quality of your health. It's your spiritual awareness, and it's finance.
I'm completely blown away that I've been asked to do my work around the country. I want to spend every breath in my body opening the door for as many people as possible. I didn't come here to entertain you, though I can be quite entertaining. I came for your breakthrough.
Well, Lisa and I have spent a lot of time together talking, and I thought this was a great time to introduce you to my audience and to these wonderful and deserving women. Yeah. So I sent transformational coach Lisa Nichols to meet one-on-one with Tammy and Taylor before the show to find out more about them.
Hi.
Hi.
This is just an opportunity for me to just get context, to find out, to discover. It just supports Dr. Phil and I to understand more. First, I just want to let you know that I admire your courage.
Thank you.
And your daughters.
Thank you.
Would you say right now, like if you looked at your life and living a full life was a 10, where would you rate yourself?
At about a 0.5.
So you're not even at 1?
No. I feel like a shell a lot of times.
Okay. So I'm going to show you a series of words. I'd love to hear how you define this word. What comes to mind?
Grocery store feels like somewhere where I run into people that I know. I am very afraid because I don't know how to communicate anymore.
Is there shame or is there embarrassment?
I feel like it's been 2 years and I should just be over it, and it just makes me feel so weak, and everybody's always telling me how strong I am, and I'm just not.
Okay. Why do you start crying as soon as you see the word bed? What did it trigger for you?
I really have not slept in my bed since this happened.
What's your fear around laying in a bed?
I'm afraid to lay in the bed and have to think.
What are you afraid of when it comes to thinking?
Missing people, feeling guilty.
Those people.
All of that family and my daughter and Chris. But not really Chris, not the real Chris. I just miss the friendship that I thought we were gonna have.
Thank you for being so forthright and honest. I know that this isn't an easy conversation. I've learned so much about you today. Now I'm gonna meet Taylor. Hi, Taylor, how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
I'm good. My request is one that you know this is a safe space. If it comes up, let it come out. I'm sorry that you had this experience. I'm sorry that you were robbed from a part of your youth. You pulled away from your mom a bit. Why?
I feel guilty for what happened. Just when I see her, sometimes it just hurts. Because I remember what she looked like that night.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid that I just don't know how to get past this. It just hurts all the time. Like it happened yesterday, but it's been 2 years. It doesn't feel like 2 years.
Well, Taylor, there's a long road ahead of us. I'm looking forward to what can happen now.
Thank you.
Dr. Phil has a lot of work ahead of him. And when we think of a new year and a new you, it's a perfect time to do it. Perfect time for them to be committed to it.
Lisa, let me talk to you for a few minutes here. This is not all foreign to you.
No.
You've been through some of these things, fortunately not all of them, but you've been through some of these things yourself. As you've listened to me talk to them here today and listened to them when you sat with them before, what jumps out at you the most as needing to go on a to-do list?
Number one is give yourself permission that it wasn't your fault.
When I said, how do you feel about those pictures? You talked about those pictures like the mother in them had died.
Yes.
Like, it's over. Hell, she's gone. There is no more. And what Lisa's telling you is you got to give yourself permission to get back in.
For the new year, I would really like to get back to the healthy person that I was. I want to feel confident at work. I want to be able to sleep in my bed. I don't want to be afraid to leave my house.
I would like my mother to push herself to be herself again. I would definitely like to improve my relationship with my mother because I love her. I just want my old mom back.
It starts right now. Do you feel guilty about having all this attention right now? You think somebody else deserves to be in that chair more than you?
No.
Why do you not feel guilty about all this attention?
Because it's you. I watch you every episode, I just know I need you. I just know I need to talk to you.
That's what you're doing on that couch. You're watching Dr. Phil's show. Okay.
You think she's kidding?
Oh, no, you're permitted an hour a day on the couch.
No.
Okay.
No,
One show a day.
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm on other channels too. But you understand, you've got to give yourself permission to get off. What do you think about this guilt she's talking about?
There's nothing to feel guilty of. You were a victim. And if you want, I want her mom to live. I want her mom to live. I want her to have her mom at 25. I want her mom to see her fall in love again. I want her mom to see her get married. I want you to have a life. We got a long way to go. We got a long way to go to get there. But if you can see it, like you need to see her mom alive. Because you buried her today in your statement. You buried her.
You don't miss Chris. You've both said that you do. You don't miss Chris. You miss the man you wish he was. Somebody that beats you in the head with a meat hammer, breaks your neck, and then sits next to you while you bleed out and asks you questions about somebody you're dating when he figures you're going to be dead within the hour, and he's asking you questions. You do not miss him. You miss who you wish he was. And that man is not who's locked up in prison. So do not mourn the passage of that man. Mourn the passage of the man you wish you had in your life. You just didn't. Taylor says she has yelled, screamed, and tried to give her mother tough love to motivate her, but nothing works, and she wants to know why. I'm going to tell her why. All the yelling in the world is like asking her mother to get taller. You just can't yell somebody taller. We'll be back. I want to tell you why you can't rah-rah her off the couch, why you can't yell her off the couch, why you can't band her off the couch, why you can't get her to do what it is you want her to do. Now, I often say this, and I know I repeat myself, but I always do want to point out that I'm not diagnosing you as I sit here. Because in order to diagnose you, I would need to go through a lot of steps that I just can't do right now. What I can tell you is what I would have on the short list. And high on my short list would, you could clearly guess, would be PTSD. I mean, there are different parts of the brain that are actually altered. The neurotransmitters of the brain change. And that's what I say when I say you can't yell her through this. Now, you want some good news?
Yes, please.
It's doable. And it just so happens that the chairman of the Dr. Phil Advisory Board is one of the leading experts in the world on PTSD and PTSD with TBI. Talking about Frank Lawless from the PNP Center. You've heard me talk about him a lot. Come on, let's start this. Let's start this journey and let's get it done.
Please, yes.
And you will be astounded how different your world will look in a relatively short period of time.
The two of you decided to come here because you're ready. Say it.
I'm ready.
Say it again.
I am so ready.
Say it again.
I am so ready.
Tell your mother.
We are ready.
Tell
I'm
her.
ready. Are you ready? We're
Tell
doing
her.
this.
Okay, we will set this up very, very soon. Very soon. Okay?
And is it okay if I check in with them?
It is.
Is it? May I?
It is
Yes,
more than okay.
Please. And loving you along the way, encouraging you as your sister
All
friend.
right, we got a plan?
Absolutely.
We got a deal?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Got a plan.
All right, coming up, some information every woman needs to know when we come back. Well, Robin is joining me here on stage because she is so passionate about the issue of domestic violence. In fact, she is one of the most active and, I think, effective ambassadors for fighting domestic violence in America today. And you started a nonprofit foundation called When Georgia Smiled with the sole purpose of helping victims of domestic violence.
We create educational programs that are being used in schools across the country. We have also created an app voted on Capitol Hill as one of the top 2 apps best at helping to raise the awareness of domestic violence and sexual assault.
And let's talk about how this works. And this is going to be a little fuzzy for a reason, because we want you to understand how it works, but we don't want to over-educate the abuser. You just have a regular smartphone and you see it has a button on it that looks like every other button, and in this case, it's a news service.
And it runs current news for that day.
Yeah, so if somebody gets hold of your phone and they say, okay, I'm gonna check Daily Mail and see if this is real, they click on it, and Daily Mail does come up. But let me tell you what's really going on. You see the bar across the top, your green bar from the server? If you tap that bar 3 times, you just do that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. What happens is, behind this, you have in advance set up messages. And you tap that phone 3 times, and it sends those messages out automatically to whoever you have programmed it to send them out to. It can be 911, it can be your mother, it can be your neighbor across the street, and the message can say anything you want. It can say, things are getting really dicey over here, please come knock on my door, please call the house. Or the one that goes to 911 can say, my life is in danger, come in quiet, but come now. If they take your phone and put it in their pocket and they move you to another site, it's got a tracker in it. Once you trigger it, it sends out a signal that the police it sends out a signal that the police can follow, and it'll track you to where you go. The app is free, so you can go to iTunes, Google Play, and you can download the app for free. Now, one of the things that When Georgia Smiled created was the Aspire Initiative, which is what she was talking about, an interactive curriculum designed to help tweens, teens, and adults. But one of the things I wanted to go over while we're here is a safe exit plan. Number one, you want to notify a friend or family member or someone you trust that you are planning on ending the relationship. You want to identify a code word that you can text a friend or trusted person in the event that you're in trouble, or you can use the Aspire app. 3, if you don't feel safe, don't break up in person. Just simply don't do it. 4, identify a safe place that you can go where someone you trust can pick you up. Contact loveisrespect.org to find resources in your own area. Now, when you go into the program, there'll be more details in there about things you want to do, like copying key documents for children for custody purposes, getting a separate set of keys made. All of these things are in there that will help you just have a template so you know what to do to get away safely. Now, let me do a shameless plea for donations for When Georgia Smiled. Every penny of every donation that goes to When Georgia Smiled goes to an end user. And Robin uses this money to support women's shelters. And she adopts shelters all over the country, all up and down through California. And these shelters, a lot of the things are donated to the shelters, a lot of food is donated to the shelters, but they need money to pay utilities, to pay mortgages, to pay rent. And When Georgia Smiled needs donations, because right now there are more domestic violence victims, women and children, than there are beds.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You're out of beds.
Yes, that's right. They never know when they're going to get a family, so they have to always be prepared. And they are so loving and giving to these families, and they keep them as long as they need to be there, and they have to be funded. And it's just so important to donate to foundations such as When Georgia Smiled, because we're the ones that give the money to these shelters so they can take care of these victims.
Yeah. And there is no overhead. It all goes to the victims and to the shelters. You can go to the website, whengeorgiasmiled.org. You can see more about the good works that they do. But please help us help them. We need to keep these shelters open for these people. So anything you can do will be very helpful. I want to thank all of my guests today, and a very special thanks to transformational coach Lisa Nichols. Thank you so much for what you did. And if you want to get the Aspire app, go to Google Play Store or iTunes App Store, and you can download the Aspire app. We'll see you next time.